Hey, hey, Denver. Hey, hey, world. Happy Election Eve. Tomorrow we get to find out who is in control of the Senate. Isn't that exciting shit? I think it is. Welcome to the Sesh. I am Damian Dane. Okay, as excited as I am about the election tomorrow for the Georgia Senate runoffs, where Kelly Loeffler gets to fall into a pile of mud, hopefully, and mess up her pretty hair. I don't know why that's just a innate desire. I need to see that at some point. But that's not what's important. And the fact that I am able to now play is really great. But today is not necessarily a day for playing because I want to talk about something serious with you. I had a really important conversation with Dominique, Richardson, and Toney a little bit earlier, two really, really good friends of mine that are very, very smart. And, you know, I can't imagine that anyone doesn't know the story, but for those who don't, Tamir Rice was 12 years old in 2014 when he was shot to death by Timothy Loehmann, a police officer who was 26 at the time. He mistook a toy gun for a real one and shot him to death in Cleveland, Ohio. Tamir's mother, Samaria Rice, reports that her other children are traumatized because they simply don't understand how no charges could be filed. They've seen the video, they've missed their brother, and what are they supposed to think about a justice system that just takes a crap on their pain? They said there wasn't enough evidence. I'm not showing the video, it's repulsive, it's murder, and Timothy Loehmann should never feel peace. Loehmann and his partner, Officer Frank Garmbach, arrived at the scene. They were called to the recreation center after a man drinking beer and waiting for a bus had called 911 to report that a guy was pointing a gun at people. The caller told the 911 dispatcher that it was probably a juvenile and that the gun might be a fake, though that information was never relayed to the officers. We know that wouldn't have happened if he were white. It just wouldn't, and you know it too. It's shameful, and those officers need to be brought to justice. I want to show you now the interview and the sesh that I had with Dominique and Asya. See you in a minute. Hey everybody, I'm here talking today with Asya Toney and Dominique Richardson. We're discussing the fact that no charges were brought against the officers who killed Tamir Rice. Welcome, Asya. Welcome, Dominique. How are you today?
Hello, I'm so good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm well. I'm super great, as a matter of fact. Dominique, welcome.
Hi. I'm doing very well actually, and you can hear me okay and everything's all right?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, good. Amazing. Bluetooth.
All right. Asya, what is your response when you found out that no charges were going to be filed?
So when I first found out, I heard the news a couple of days ago, I was both hurt but not surprised. I think I would have been more surprised if charges would have been filed. But I honestly just once again just kind of felt hurt and as though I'd been done wrong and my community had been done wrong by our justice system.
Right. Dominique?
I remember seeing the footage myself several years ago, and it was surreal to me because if I'm remembering correctly, he was in like a gazebo or something. Tamir was in a gazebo in the park, and the cops just pull up in their cars and jump out of the car like it's an action movie, and they just blow him away. Like, not, the terminology is harsh what I'm using, but that's what I'm recalling, and I'm like, that was insane. There's more than enough footage there to push any case through. So, like, there's liquor store robberies that had worse footage. So don't tell me that. So I wasn't I wasn't really surprised. I was just, and not even hurt. Like my hurt was when I saw it and it was years ago. Now it's just anger and just kind of, just it builds a pattern that's undeniable. And that's the only thing that I can even think of to, uh, solidify me is the fact that it just creates something that you can't deny anymore. Like just
Right.
it paints a picture.
Right. And there was the call that was made to 911 was made by somebody who said and wasn't relayed to the officers that it's probably a juvenile and it's probably a toy gun. But apparently this wasn't relayed to the officers. So it there's but still, right? I mean, because the video does show because his mother says that they told her that that they were there for like they told him 3 times. That's what it was. That they told him 3 times to drop the gun, but there was zero way for that to happen because they arrive seriously and immediately they shoot the boy to death. And then his sister comes up and they tackle her too. And no charges at all. So what do you say to people who feel that because Tamir had a gun, a toy gun, that they were within their rights to fear for their life? Asia?
I think that that is a ridiculous excuse. I am not a trained police officer. I don't have any kind of combat training or anything like that. But if I'm walking down the street, I can tell the difference between a kid playing with a toy, be that toy a gun or a toy sword or a toy bow and arrow, from someone who is actually trying to accost me and placing my life and others in danger. So if you have that training, there is really no excuse for what happened. And when people say, well, he was brandishing a gun, no, he wasn't. He was a kid playing with a toy. And this officer saw an opportunity to shoot a black person and took it. That's what happened. And there is no denying that. Everyone can see the footage. It is plain. They're trained. They're trained to be able to not be fearful in these situations so that they don't use excessive force. So you're telling me that they can't tell that a 12-year-old playing with a gun is safe, but an actual person walking into a sports stadium or something with an assault rifle, they can be taken into custody totally fine, no injuries, nothing.
Right.
It makes no sense. And there is no defense for that.
Right. And to remind anybody that doesn't know, Tamir was 12 years old when he was shot. So Dominique, who is ultimately to blame? Who do we put blame on? Because I know that his mother, in even interviews that were just recently done, is still just looking for answers. I mean, I don't expect you to like give an answer or something, but do you feel the same way, that it's just kind of like, what do we do next?
Well, responsibility, if I was to, for at any instance, remove race from the situation, responsibility relies in adults. And the adults have to assess situations based on their own, common sense of what they're observing. So an adult should have been able to see that a child, by the way, he looked like a child. He was a little boy. Like, if I shaved my face, I wouldn't look too much older than him. he was very young, obviously. So the fact that adults decided to make this judgment and to blow things into something bigger than what it was, they're the ones who hold at fault.
Right.
And that is a argument that cannot be politicized or racialized. It's just what it is. Just adults have to have better judgment than that. And if they don't, then they have biases, period.
True.
Like the most neutral response I could give you.
Asia, what do you tell people who wonder why it's personal? What do you say to white people that wonder why?
That's what I was gonna get to. I wish that they could spend a single day as a Black person in this country, and then they would understand why it's personal. Why, when we see these things on national television, on social media sites, like it's nothing. We're all desensitized to it. At any given point, that could be my brother, that could be my niece or nephew, that could be my mother, that could be me, that could be Dominique, that could be any other Black person that I know. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. That's what's crazy. You could wake up one day and be another statistic. You could wake up one day and be another face on Fox News. And now your family, your community is having to go through that same battle with our ridiculously twisted justice system, trying to get justice when it's obvious, it's there, it's on camera. Mm-hmm. So to the people who are say, how can you take it personal? Well, this is our life. We live this every day. You have no idea what it's like to be raised being told how to communicate with officers of the law because you are Black. I was trained and coached on what to do when I get pulled over. That is not something that I know the majority of Americans experience. Mm-mm. But it is something that Black Americans have to experience because it's dangerous for us to just leave our homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Either one of you can. Did you want to say something?
There's so many instances where you have, again, this is historically observable. We have Black children who were always treated as much older and more dangerous than they were. And it usually starts like, and this is a thing that is observable as well. It usually starts about the time they're about, 8 to 11 years old, especially Black male children. Then they're perceived as a threat, and all of a sudden they're an adult, and you have to treat them with extreme measures. And that's something that is taught to our law enforcement, and something that is prevalent belief. And that's something that you also cannot untrain. Mm-hmm. That's something that you cannot unteach from the police force because it is intrinsic in their makeup.
Right. In my opinion, it's kind of it's impossible to cure the violently ill. Yeah. And that goes all the way up to the top right now, and what violently ill means. Mm-hmm. To wrap up, either one of you can take this, or both. What is your response to people that want to help end police brutality, but they don't know where to start?
My first thing would be pick up your phone. Google is free. Pick up your phone and look up the history of not just police brutality. I challenge every American to look up the history of police and where they came from in this country and why we even have police departments and police forces. And then I want them to ask themselves, knowing the history, is it something that's absolutely necessary now, today, in modern times? I can't deny that we absolutely need to have some system of patrolling our neighborhoods and our communities to keep them safe. But our neighborhoods and communities are capable of doing that on their own. Mm-hmm. We don't need to have outside forces coming in and constantly raising the stakes and just making things overly dangerous when a simple mediation is all that was needed. Mm-hmm. So I challenge people, first, learn the history of police in this country and what an actual police force does. Then I would challenge them, do you think you have it within you to, if you see someone stealing something, to stop that from happening without taking that person's life? Is it not much easier to say, okay, this person's clearly in need. Mm-hmm. What can we do to help them? as opposed to immediately seeing things as a problem that needs to be corrected.
Absolutely.
How can we help one another and let communities do that for themselves? And if you want to defund the police, then also you need to start thinking about whether or not we need to have militarized police forces.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, great. We do have police departments because, yes, we do. There are criminals in any society that's going to exist. Do they need to have weapons of what I consider mass destruction as far as, the everyday person goes? Do they need assault rifles? Do they need tanks? Do they need riot gear if they're not breaking down a riot? Absolutely not. Clearly, knowing that you could be shot by a police officer is not a deterrent for actual criminals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not working. We know that that's not working. And
Right.
there is a disproportionate number of the excessive force being used against people of color, specifically Black men.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to do something else. Like, we are the definition of insanity right now. We keep doing the same thing and we're expecting different results. And that blows my mind how we're doing that as a society. Like, we know our police departments don't work. It is an institution, it is a system. And the only way to dismantle a system is from the inside. You have to completely break it apart. Completely. So I would challenge everyone to just do the research, do the work for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's out there. The information is out there. You can find it. You can formulate your opinions and then get out there in your community. Figure out what needs to be done in your community. What are the issues in your community? Talk to the youth in your community, for goodness sake. I promise they'll tell you what they want and how to make things better.
Right. Yeah, definitely. The kids will, for sure. I will definitely take that challenge. And we'll probably end up filming it or doing some type of a documentary about it. I'm all about it. Dominique, anything else?
Yeah, just look at the history of law enforcement and see how the practices of the United States law enforcement have influenced other police forces throughout the world, in other countries, and how they practice and do things. And there's also a lot of things that police officers obviously do in other countries that they are they're more trained in humanitarian efforts than the ones here. Mm-hmm. And that is something that people need to, I think, realize, is that police are not a humanitarian effort. Mm. Because when you ask them to do anything humanitarian, it's a kind of a crapshoot whether or not they'll do it. I need a ride home. I need a bottle of water. Can you pick up my groceries? They might do that. They might not.
Typically,
that's
think
dependent
they
on the
outsource
person.
Like that.
That's not part of their duty. Yeah.
Typically, they'll call you an Uber. Or
I think
like
when
that.
you just realize, before they'll ever do anything themselves.
Right.
And it's just realizing the utility of the police and how they're employed and deployed. If you just look at those basic things, then again, it paints a picture.
Right.
So when you just look at the basic little parts of what do the police do versus what they don't do or what they choose not to do, look at that, and that's a good start to Googling the history of everything involving them in law enforcement, the military, even when it goes into that, and racial subjugation with the police. It all just starts in what do they do and what do they choose to do and what do they want to do.
Right.
And, yeah.
Well, now we have our homework. Not we, but we. Can we meet back in a week or two and discuss this more? Because let's discuss the beginnings of the police department and for those who aren't going to go and do their homework.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'd love
Awesome.
to. I would love to.
Perfect.
Me too.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I love both of you so much, you know that. And please come back anytime.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure. Yes. Thank you for having us both. I love you. I really appreciate what you're doing and how you're using your platform and your voice. It's so amazing. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dominique. And
Yeah, thank you so much.
For sure. Absolutely. Talk to you soon. Nugs and kisses to both of you. I want to thank Asya and Dominique for joining me. You will be seeing them soon, obviously. And hey, take the challenge. Do it. I'm going to study right now in just a little bit. And while you're at it, look up the Tamir Rice Foundation, founded by his mother, Samaria, if you'd like to help. Thanks for tuning into the Sesh. In just 2 days, we got Shishi. We'll see you next time. I'm Damian Dane. And remember, when we die, we only get to take our memories and the truth. Fear not. Love forth.